From recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex, I'm your host, Steve Urban, and here is your Riderflex episode of the day. And on today's episode of the Riderflex podcast, we have Andy Seth, author, music producer, entrepreneur, and the CEO of Flow. His new book and album titled Bling can be found on Amazon, Spotify, Apple, and just about anywhere you search for it. If you're looking for an inspirational and entertaining entrepreneurial journey, this interview is definitely for you. I truly enjoyed my chat with Andy Seth.
We're good.
Oh, Andy Seth, such a pleasure to have you on the Riderflex show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
I'm so glad we're connected. Wow, I tell you, you're all over the place, my man. You got all kinds of stuff going on. Love your brand, love your personal brand, love everything you're doing.
That just means you love me, man, because there ain't no difference.
I was studying your stuff ahead of time. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so inspirational, first of all, and you don't produce all of the material you're producing without just flat out hustling, right? It's hustle. Like I talk to so many wannabe entrepreneurs and millennials, and they think, well, I can just go down to Starbucks and send out a couple of social media posts and I'm going to be rich. It's like, no, dude, it doesn't work that way.
I mean, if it does, good on you.
Yeah. But really, congrats on everything. So, hey, why don't we just start off with you telling the listeners a little about yourself personally, before you get into the career stuff in the book. Just, where you're from, where you grew up, family stuff.
Sure. Where you from? Is that how you give me?
Yep.
Where you from? That's
yeah, you're from.
Where you from, man? Where you from used to have a connotation. Now it's like, oh, which neighborhood are you from? So where I'm from is LA. That's why I can have a little hood talk.
All right. What part? What area?
There's a little city called Lomita. What's up to all my Lomita peeps out there?
Okay.
On right. Narbonne. If anybody's ever heard of Narbonne, that's one of those streets that changes names when it gets to the hood. Yeah. It's Arlington until you get to my city. Then it changes to Narbonne.
Gotcha. All right. That's where you went to like middle school, high school.
Yeah, I went to up until high school. So from the age of 0 till 14, we lived in a motel in Lomita. And that's kind of like the origin. That one sentence, interestingly, like doesn't really tell you a whole lot of what it meant to grow up the way I did, but that's why we have interviews and can share some of those.
I'm having a visual. When you say,
but I think it does give people a general idea. It was not a motel we owned, despite being Indian. My last name is not Patel, and so we didn't own it. I did used to front like we did though, Steve. I used to tell people like, oh yeah, we own it, because it's a lot less embarrassing, frankly. But no, we just lived in a motel.
We as his mom, dad, brothers, sisters.
Yeah, my mom, dad, sister, and I.
Okay.
And motels have gotten better. I'll tell you, motels have gotten better. Like, for example, we didn't have bathrooms in our rooms. We had communal bathrooms. It looked a lot more like a dormitory if you think about like a dorm.
Are you serious? Were your parents immigrants or what's the story there?
Yeah. Both my parents are from India. Both have master's degrees. One of the things that a lot of immigrants can relate to for sure is how your degrees don't quite translate to the American market, despite having earned it, from a different country. And so it's interesting because I would imagine you might experience that too with people that you're recruiting and people that are candidates. My wife, for example, has an MBA, but when she came to the States, it was like, yeah, you have an MBA, but it's from India. And she was like, yeah, it's like from the best school in India. And we got 1.2 billion people. So I must've done all right.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But it's interesting.
Your parents moved here. So they went to school in India, and then your dad, mom said, hey, we're going to move to the US and we'll try it. Or what was
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, my dad came here first. Okay. Really just a typical immigrant story, in search of kind of the American dream.
Wow.
But what we experienced was not really the dream. We experienced the downside. There's, I don't like to say nightmare because that's a bit like dramatic, but you know what I'm saying? Like not everybody lands the dream is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And and so my mom and dad met after my dad was already living in America. He went back to India. They met, I think like 15 minutes. agreed to marry each other. And then my mom moved to the United States.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. All
for
right.
about
And then she moved to the United States. She's like, we're going to live here in this hotel. Like, this is
No,
it.
it kind of didn't work out that way. You know, they were living somewhere else in a place called Harbor City, just in an apartment.
Okay.
My dad worked in a department store, and one of his customers came up to him and said, "Hey, you know, like they got along really well." And he
Mhm.
said, "Hey, you know, I know you're just starting a family. My mom was pregnant with me.
Okay.
I know you're starting a family. You know, I've got this motel, and if you wanted to, you know, you could live there for a couple years. You could save some money. Just can you know, like keep up the place, you know, like clean out the bathrooms, because like I said, they're communal bathrooms. Do the tenants' laundry. You know, the motel situation isn't like what you would think today, but we used
Yeah.
to do the laundry and
Okay.
collect the rent. It's a weekly basis rent. If you can do that, you know, you can stay for free.
Okay.
And that should allow you to save some money, build up for your family, and then you guys can go out. And so that was the plan.
Okay.
Stay
Okay.
there 14 years and we stayed there until it was demolished. It was torn down because it was a slum.
Wow.
It wasn't
Wow.
like we, you know, had some magic like financial change of events and all that kind of stuff.
I'm
And in
so
fact,
glad. I'm so glad you're covering this. So often when people see successful entrepreneurs, they think, oh, well, he came from a trust fund, you know, or whatever. Like he came from a rich family or whatever. And so,
yeah,
yeah,
a lot do.
yeah, a lot. You're right.
A lot do. Yeah. And you know what I say to that too is I think it's important to have everyone's different perspectives. You know, there might be people who listen to this that hear advice and they're like, yeah, that can work for you, but like I didn't have a safety net. I don't have a safety net to fall back on. My advice is going to be really useful for you if you
Okay.
don't have the safety net.
Yeah.
You know, I know that life. I know that kind of process. So my advice sounds a lot more and it's not advice more than anything, it's my experiences, but they're more relevant to people who don't have the safety nets underneath them, because that's what I went through. And so I just think it's good to have different perspectives. I appreciate that you have invited me to provide this other kind of perspective. You know,
Yeah.
it's one thing to say like, you know, oh, we're all about like, you know, diversity and inclusion, but like, just look at the roster of people's shows
Right.
and you can tell whether they actually have diversity and inclusion. So I appreciate that you've invited me on to tell my story.
Absolutely. So let's walk into it. Where did the early entrepreneurial bug come from? Let's talk about that. Yeah. Walk into that.
You want my legal story or my
No,
illegal?
no. The fun stuff. The fun stuff.
All right. You asked. I asked because, you know, my first time I had a tax ID number, a federal ID number is the legal first story. That's the stuff on my website. But
That's
I'll
so
tell
good.
you,
That's
the
so
one.
good.
I was about 8 or 9 years old when my family we went through a bankruptcy.
Okay.
My dad had tried a business that didn't work.
Okay.
Excuse me. And imagine you live in a motel and go bankrupt. Like, ooh, it's pretty tough time.
But see that right there. I just want to pause for a minute. See right there at an early age, you saw your dad had the balls to go for it, and he tried it. And like a lot of people, maybe the first one didn't make it, but that had to plant a little seed in there, right? I think I would think.
Shoot, more than a seed, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's different to experience bankruptcy and poverty than it is to experience bankruptcy when you've had resources. Because here's the truth. I've had a wealth management business for 10 years almost. And so I've watched a couple people with money go through bankruptcies.
Mm-hmm.
They're very different. They can hide money. They can shuffle things around. There's ways to like start a business without actually starting a business, to generate income without showing that you're generating it. There's tricks.
Yeah.
When you literally don't have any of that money to play these tricks with, you're just broke.
Great point,
And
buddy.
so it's very different. You know, when I hear people like name a celebrity that's gone bankrupt. 50
Right.
Cent went bankrupt recently, right? I mean, what was he doing? He was restructuring his assets. That's
Totally different. That's totally
different. Yeah. If 50 went bankrupt when he had 5 cents to his name, then, you know, different story. Dude, that pun was on point, by the way. I never used that, but yo.
Awesome.
So anyhow, so we went through that. And so the first business I started wasn't much, but it was a way for me to have a couple bucks.
Okay.
There was a factory pretty close to the motel. And they were basically a commercial printer, is now in hindsight what they did. I didn't know, but they had a dumpster where they had sheets of stickers. And so
Stickers like bumper stickers for cars or for like, you name it.
Yeah, a lot of times it was just stuff I didn't know because they were probably brands that, I mean, I
Okay.
was a little kid. I didn't pay attention to any stuff,
Okay.
that stuff. But the ones that I did know were surf and skate brands. They were like TNC and Barney and, stuff like
I
that.
see. I see.
And so I saw it. So I hopped the fence, went into the dumpster, pulled out some sheets, and you could see that there were runs that were like messed up. So I just cut them out, and cut the good ones. And I went to school and I started selling them. So I was selling them, I remember 25 cents each or 5 for $1.
Wow.
And so that was my first
Wow.
business, if you will. But I had seen the whole dumpster diving thing. The idea happened not because I had just seen it, but like to get in it, it's kind of illegal to like hop somebody's property, even though the trash is on their, it's their property. My dad had done it, and it was the first time we had a phone with an answering machine. And I was really young, but I remember coming home and we had this answering machine. It was like Panasonic.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yep.
Yeah.
The little. Yeah.
You remember that? So
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, how did we get that? And my dad didn't say anything, but my mom was like, oh, your dad got it. And I was like, I mean, in my head, at that age, even I was like, how do you get that? Like, that's like, we don't have money for a phone like that. I know that's, and then she had told me that he had found it in the dumpster, cleaned it up, and it wasn't working. And he took it back to a store that was selling it and got a new one.
You learned how to hustle early on from your dad, big time.
It's not proud. I say that not with like a pride thing, but at the same time, it taught me like, hey, look, if you really want to go after something, like you got to be down to get in the dumpster.
Yep. Wow. Okay. So so early on, you got the entrepreneurial bug. You got your dad's work ethic and hustle in you.
Oh no. I got a couple lessons from dad, but I'm not trying to put it out there like I got my dad's hustle.
No,
my dad had his own demons.
Okay. All right.
Because here's another reality. I think this is important to share with listeners too, is, we have like this great Indian immigrant story. They're educated. They come to America, they didn't do well, but they tried hard. And you know what, man, I'll tell you the truth of it. Like my mom tried really hard.
Okay.
My dad got into a real depressive state when he kind of like could see how life was going. And then when we went bankrupt, it furthered that depression. And he really never picked out of it, and instead really turned to like other outlets.
I see.
And
okay.
so like, yeah, it's not really so like, and I'm not trying to diss on my dad. My dad's alive and I love my dad. Like, I'm not trying to diss him. I'm just trying to say like, look, man, the ugly can get uglier. You know what I'm saying? And like, it does. And when you tell the truth about it, it's not a sense of pride for sure. If anything, it hurts and it's a little bit shameful, but I feel like it's important to tell people about it, because one of the things that I've realized is when people give me their experiences or they tell me what they've gone through, and I'm like, yeah, but man, you don't know what I'm going through. And the truth is you don't, right? You don't know what other people are going through. But here's what we do know. If you've had like some really rough spots in life, and people will connect with you on that. Maybe not everybody's going to connect with me on this, and that's cool. But there's going to be people that are like, yo, man, I've been through that too. I just want you to know, like, this story that I'm about to share with you happened for real. This is not like, somebody that came out and just kind of rewriting their script. I'm telling you, like, this is my life. My parents are alive and still hear me talk about this. It's really painful for them to hear me talk about it. It triggers. And I still do it gently. That's why I say certain words the same way. You'll never hear me say, for example, I was poor.
Is that right? Okay.
You'll never hear me say that because we just didn't have financial means, but we had a lot of love,
So you hustled though, but you were hustling, trying to figure out how to make money on your own way early. And then walk us then into how the hell did you get to Boston College from this? How did that happen?
Two short jumps. When I was 12 and 13, my dad had this idea that he would go in search of like the best high school, and that somehow I could get in.
Because your grades were good?
Yeah, grades were great, but I mean, dime a dozen. Tons of kids got 4.0s across the nation. That wasn't like that big of a thing. Okay. And so he went on a search, and I remember, he went to the library, and librarians used to like do research and, help people with stuff like questions like this. How do I find one of the best schools in the nation? And made his way, and he ended up really falling kind of, I wouldn't say in love, but really, really liked the appeal of Culver Military Academy in Indiana. I think he thought, the military was like a good system of discipline,
Okay.
leadership. I wasn't undisciplined by any means. It's just more like, hey, this furthers the values we have. We have a value of that kind of discipline. So he looked at that, and there's a whole story behind how that all went down. But basically, I ended up deciding to go, despite pretty much fighting all the way there, until finally I was like, you know what, I'll try this for a year. And I thrived. And Culver Military Academy is in Indiana. It's about 45 minutes away from South Bend, where Notre Dame is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most, it is one of the most prestigious schools in the nation. I got a full scholarship to go there.
I was just about to say, how the hell did they pay for that? But okay,
yeah,
you got a full scholarship. Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Yeah, thanks. Yep. I think that, the concept of me was what people invested in, that they looked at, can we get a low income kid? I'm not sure whether it had anything to do with being a minority or not, but, I knew it was like definitely on a need based.
Okay.
Can we get a low income kid who seems like a high achiever and give him or her a shot? And let's see what they could do. And as you'll start to find out, as you hear my story evolve, you'll understand why I do what I do now, because people had given me a shot. And I know not everybody's going to, be on the flag, waving the flag, but I did. And
cool.
Culver was phenomenal for me. And then from there, I went on to earn a full scholarship at Boston College as well.
Wow. So a full scholarship at Culver, then full scholarship at Boston College. That's huge, man. Congrats. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're saying that a little bit casually, but I mean, that's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of good grades. That's good. Congratulations. Okay. And then how did you pick Boston?
Oh, you know what's funny, man? This is actually the perfect time to ask me that question.
Okay.
Culver is only a few miles away from Notre Dame.
Okay.
Notre Dame comes and recruits their top kids. I was at the time probably number 2 or 3 in my class.
Wow.
Graduated top 5. And so they're coming in, they're like, who are the kids? Now they have those rules where they can't pay for kids to go see a game.
Oh, okay. Right? All right. Yep.
But they definitely encourage, if there's a way you can get there, we'd love to have you come and do a tour. Put it like that.
All right.
So one of my TAs for history, this guy, Mike went to Boston College. I had really honestly never heard of Boston College. And so we were in class on maybe like a Thursday, and we're talking about like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? And, when you're in Culver, we're in the middle of cornfields. We don't go anywhere. You're on campus. But the TAs, they would get off campus, right? Because he's an adult. And so I was like, oh, so what are you doing this weekend, Mr. Mangan? And he's like, oh, actually, I'm going to go watch the BC Notre Dame game. And I was like, what's that, man? And he's like, oh, dude, that's like our big football rivalry. I went to the school, Boston College. They're playing Notre Dame. He's like, matter of fact, I got an extra ticket if you want to come with me. I'm like, all right, then.
Wow.
So this was my way of going to kind of see Notre Dame, if you will.
Okay.
The game happens at Notre Dame. Boston College wins. And their fans charge their field and tear down their goalposts. And I was like, yo, I want to go there. And here's why this is the perfect question to ask me right now. This Friday, I'm going to the BC Notre Dame game.
That's
with one of my best friends here, Ryan Harris, who played for the Broncos and won the Super Bowl, played for Notre Dame as a starter all 4 years, and now as a broadcaster for Notre Dame. I'm going into the enemy's lair. I am going in with one of their stars.
That's awesome. Do you get to go up to the booth with him and hang out?
That's where we're staying.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So it's gonna be a different way to see my people on the field. But I don't know if this year we're gonna be tearing down any goalposts.
Well, that's really cool. So isn't it amazing how the little things that happen in life, little windows open? I mean, if you hadn't talked to that guy that day who said, I got these tickets, you probably wouldn't have went there. Right?
Like the way I see all that is just like life kind of unfolds before you anyways. You just got to be open and listening, right?
Yep.
And here's a cool story because you in your company you focus on recruiting and hiring.
Yep.
One of the best all-time interviews I knew I had to give was at Boston College.
Oh, really?
To get my scholarship.
Really? Okay. It was
to get the scholarship. It's one thing to get admission. I had already gotten half scholarship from Georgetown, half scholarship from UPenn, a full to USC, a full to Colgate, and I was pending on Boston College.
Wow.
And I really wanted to go to like the best school, but I needed a full. Halves weren't doing it. So this one interview was kind of like everything was riding on whether I could go to school in Boston on this interview. And I did my interview, and the lady asked me at the end, "Is there anything you'd like to leave me with?" Right?
Love it. Great question. Great question.
Pretty good question, right? Like, so here's what I knew. I knew, like, just give me a shot to say what I got. Like, just give me the shot, right? And in my pocket, I had one of these, you know, those cotton balls that have like the wobbly eyes?
Yeah.
Those,
Yeah.
I forget what they used to call them, but used to get them as like toys and stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember, but yeah.
Those little things. I got to find what the name is, but I had one in my pocket intentionally. All right. I had one in my pocket.
This is a prop that you.
It's a prop, but the prop was meant for my hand to stay, like, be holding something that I felt would bring me good luck.
Okay.
You know, it was like a thing that I had earned from this business camp that I had gotten a scholarship to. And so I had it in my pocket as good luck. And she says, "Is there anything you'd like to leave me with?" And I wasn't sure, like, what I was going to say, but I knew if I opened my mouth, some dope shit would come out. Like, that much faith I have. And so I told her, I was like, "Yeah, actually, can you close your eyes for me and put out your hand?" And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Just close your eyes for me and put out your hand." She opens her hand, and I put this thing, you know, that thing inside of her hand. I closed her hand up, and I was like, "All right, open your eyes, but not your hand." And she's like, "Okay." And I was like, "So what do you feel?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know. It's kind of soft." I was like, "Yeah, what's like another word for soft?" No, I asked her, "What's the temperature first?" I was like, "What is the temperature?" She's like, "I don't know, like room temperature, like a little bit warm." I was like, "Warm, right?" She's like, "Yeah, warm." And then I asked her, "What's it feel like?" She's like, "Soft." I was like, "What's another word for soft?" She was like, "I don't know, like fuzzy." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm giving you a warm fuzzy." And that was it. That was my mic drop. She opens it, gives me that. She's like, "That was good. That was good."
You know, yeah, and she probably nobody did that, right? All those other interviews.
It didn't matter what it was. It just needed to be memorable.
By the way, that lady probably remembers that to this day. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, real quick, and I don't mean to go backwards, but the people skills that you have, the energy and the people skills that you have, it just oozes out of you. Is that your mom or dad or both?
My mom.
Is it? Okay.
For sure. My mom.
Okay.
She's a very, very happy, jolly woman.
Okay. All right. Great. All right, cool. So now you're at Boston College. You got the full ride. So you're not having to pay for school, but you still need cash.
I do have to renew annually, though, meaning I have to have a 3.5 GPA.
Okay. So you got to keep the GPA. Plus you got to have party money, eating money. So what do you, not that you ever partied when you were in Boston College.
Yeah. Hey, my mom might be listening, bro.
So what'd you do? Did you have a little part-time job or what'd you do?
Yeah, something like that. So I started DJing when I was 13. And through high school at Culver, I would DJ like our dances. I'd come home and DJ during the summers. And I would sell mixtapes. Basically in Indiana, the only way you got music at the time that was any kind of current was what were those things called? Columbia House and BMI or something like that?
Yeah, I remember those. Yep.
Yeah. So Indiana was music starved. And so here I came. So what I would do is I would sell you like a tape, a mixtape, but I'd say, "Give me $5." I would use a receipt book, give them a carbon copy, go to the studio that was in town in Culver. There happened to be a studio there, do a 1-set take of an hour set on the tables, come back, have the tapes recorded, and then I'd give them the tape in exchange for the other $5, which was my profit. And so like I built up kind of my DJing and mixtape business in high school. And by the time I got to school in Boston, I started pretty heavily going after gigs. I ended up being able to spin 6 nights a week. And I was promoting the clubs too, so I could take a cut.
Wow. By the way, when you were just talking about the tapes you were making right there, that's the second illegal non-tax.
Hey man, we don't be counting, dog.
So now you turn that into a full-blown 6 nights a week hustling DJ gig, which is, I'm guessing, paying you pretty good money at this point. Now you're okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And the promotions too. So this was around the time. So I went to college in 1996.
Okay.
And this is the time when AOL chat rooms started to really like be pretty big. Everyone was getting those CDs for AOL and installing them.
Yeah.
Right. And so my friends used to use AOL to pick up chicks basically. And I was trying to pick them up too, but in the 75 to 100s, not one at a time. Because what I figured is if I could pull them into the club, the dudes will follow. and the dudes get me paid on the table service and all that stuff. But I
Okay.
need to have girls in there. This is just like easy 101 grassroots type of thing.
Yep.
So I used to work AOL chat rooms and fill them up, man. My guest list used to be bursting because, mind you, I went to Boston College, not exactly nightclub land. I mean, those were like Abercrombie and Fitch bar people.
Oh, right. Yep.
That
I can
is
see
not,
that.
they
Yep.
are not nightclub people. So I'm
Right.
in the wrong school to go promote nightclubs. So I had to get pretty creative. I didn't have any money. So like the internet was free basically.
And at this point, you're probably filling up the clubs. The owners are like, hey, we got to get Andy back.
Yeah.
Right.
So it got me gigs like crazy because they basically were like, hey, if we hire this guy, he comes with a following.
I see.
And it wasn't like I had a following that like, I mean, you know, we used to have pagers back then, so you could like blast out pages and stuff, right?
Right.
It wasn't like I would do that. I would hop on the chat rooms, and then people I was connected to on AIM, the instant messenger, like that's how I blasted out. Hey, I'm gonna be at this club, this spot. Hit me up on my guest list if you want guest list. Da da da. That's how I started pulling them. So that's really how I paid for like life. And
I can hear you. By the way, I can hear you spinning records on your desk with your hand because you're tapping the desk as you're talking. You're like you still got it. You're still wanting to. So you were into music super early, obviously huge music guy early, way back, and that took you. And now all of a sudden you're using that love and that passion and your hustle, and you're making money. Boom, and you're managing to keep it 3.5. Okay, now at this point, do you have any idea what you want to do for a living long term at this point, or you're just meeting chicks and doing your thing and having fun?
Living wasn't really like my thing. It was more like I just got opened up to this new world. You know, I'm in a new city. I'm kind of the man in terms of like an 18-year-old. I'm the man. Like, I'm certainly the man at BC where like, you know, if I mean, that was like a different world. People were doing bars. I was like in a different kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was more just looking at like the immediate, you know, like, oh, what do I want to do now? Like, what do I want to try now?
Okay.
I was looking at that. I mean, people were picking majors. I had a major. But I didn't really like have an intention around like that. Where I honestly, I didn't even want a job, man. Like I just wanted to figure out how I was gonna go like do cool shit and make some money.
Yep.
That was like that's it. That's all like I cared.
And that's what you were doing.
And I was doing cool shit that made money. So like that's what I figured out, and that's how I started. Then kind of the next business and all that was just like adjacent moves.
Okay. But then I noticed on your profile, when you got out of BC, you were either recruited or something happened. You went to work for Accenture as a consultant, not for very long at first, but you did take a quote regular job for a little bit. And that must, after all of your entrepreneurial stuff, that must have felt like prison bars.
Sort of not. The situation was that by the time I graduated college, I had started and sold 2 internet companies. And so
whoa. Okay. You said, I don't want to skip past that.
Yeah. So that's not like LinkedIn doesn't start until like I graduate college, basically.
So you had 2 other startups and sold them while you were in college.
Yeah.
Can you briefly, I know we don't have 4 hours, but can you touch on those? Cause that's, I want to just talk about that for a minute. Okay. Go for it.
I'm pulling people from these chat rooms into the nightclubs.
All right.
This is around the time websites start coming up. I pitched to one of the nightclub owners, this guy, Christoph, from Joy Boston. I said, hey, Christoph, man, I'm pulling all these people in. These websites are a thing. Like, it's a way for us to market. We don't have to flyer it like quite as hard and all this stuff. Like, we should build a website. And he's like, Andy, I don't know how to build these websites. Like, so I was like, yo, but I could build a website. Anyway, I couldn't build a website, but I could build a website. And so I built a website.
You had to, by the way, did you go home and you're like, oh shit, I got to figure out how to build a website?
Yeah, I learned HTML over a weekend. And then
so good.
And so then, so I built the website, and then basically I turned that into a web design company for nightclubs. And that was
so that owner told his buddy who owned the place. He's like, yeah.
All the owners knew me because I was already spinning there.
Wow.
I was just selling them a new product.
Now, did you incorporate that? Was that like an LLC and like a whole thing? Okay. Gotcha.
Funky Web.
Funky Web
was named after my record store in LA that opened up called Funky Town.
Where you used to buy music.
That's right.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now you
start to see like the adjacent moves. When I say adjacent, man, it means like same customer. Yep. I was first selling them music, right? DJing. Then I started selling them promotions, service number 2. Then I started selling them websites. Service number 3, same customer
And
base.
somehow you're doing this and you're still going to class.
It was rough, bro.
Were you married at the time?
Hell no. No.
Okay. All right. All right. Cool. So, wow. All right.
Then that grew pretty sizable. And about the end of my sophomore year, my mom and dad kind of gave me the like, hey, you know, we see what's going on. This is great on the business, but you need to get your degree. Like there isn't a safety net. And this is an interesting difference between coming from really no money
Okay.
to having a safety net. A parent today whose kid has a safety net can maybe say, hey, you know what, think about getting your degree and finishing it. But if the kid decides not to, they've got a home to go to. They've got, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Everything's gonna be fine, and they can take the risk. They can always go back to school, right?
Yep.
In my case,
Yep.
if I didn't get this degree, none of us come up.
Gotcha.
None of us come up.
Yep.
And if I botch this whole thing, like we're all stuck. And I can't just come back to school.
Yep.
Like,
Gotcha.
Maybe I could go to community college, but like I can't just come back here.
Great advice for them. And they probably felt you really attracted to what you were doing. You were making that money. You had the business going, and
I had a couple $100,000 in EBITDA a year on that business.
Okay. Yeah. So they sensed that, oh man, he might.
It was a real business.
Yep. Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
did you have employees?
100 all contractors. There was a company that had started, you know, Adecco has like all these staffing agencies that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, and they had just started this thing called the Creative Group.
Kind of like freelance, just go get a developer.
Yeah, and I was dating this, chick who was a recruiter for him. Because
man.
I met her at the club, and she was like, she had a job. She was not a college kid. She was an older
okay.
gal. She had a job, and that's what she did. She was like, oh, this is literally what I do. I could like get you people who design stuff and da-da-da. And I was like, yo, that's perfect. Cause I could sell it, but I can't build these that fast.
Wow. All right. Awesome. And then what happened? You sold that? You sold Funky Town?
Funky Web. Yeah.
Funky Web. That. Sorry.
All good. And then, the e-commerce thing was really hitting. I hadn't really messed with e-commerce too much, but I could see like online shopping was going to be the thing. Right.
Okay.
And so
what year is this?
98.
Okay.
And so one of my, let's call them friends. They were neighbors to an uncle, guys I knew back in LA, but a nice part of LA. They owned a golf shop.
Okay.
And they had let me kind of like help out here and there in the golf shop. They used to take me around to like clean stuff up, do baseball card shows. Like they taught me how to do baseball card trading and things like that. Okay. So like, these are guys that I was really cool with. And I told him, hey, you know, like I just did this company. We used to hang out during the summers. What do you think about doing like an online golf store? Because basically my idea was, if you want to make a lot of money on shopping, just sell rich people stuff. Because rich people spend a lot of money. So what do rich people do? They play golf.
They play golf. Yep.
So I was like, all right, well, let's just start it. And I know a dude that's got a golf store. Okay. So I was like, hey, what about starting this golf store? Anyways, he was like, they were already kind of thinking about it. They just didn't know how to really put it all together. Along I come. And so we started golfstore.com. Golfstore.com was very ahead of its time. So we built that incredible domain, as you can tell. But the website itself was, yeah.
Were you like a partner? Were you equal? You were partnering with these guys. You were all equity holders. Okay. All right. And you were the marketing / website arm of it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
They supplied product, and they knew the product, and they knew the consumer.
Okay.
Because at the time, maybe it's different now, but at the time, online golf retailers were not allowed to get supplied. None of the clubs, none of the companies would supply you. You had to have a brick and mortar.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I actually, now that you remember it, because I'm 52, and you're right. There were some weird rules like that, and the suppliers, the manufacturers were trying to protect the brick and mortar stores. They didn't want to piss them off. I remember all that. Yep, I remember that.
I actually had to build this piece of functionality that basically I know they were price colluding, but they were telling us you cannot display our prices. You can't display the prices online. So I had to build this piece of functionality that made you click to view the price.
I see. And then if I remember right, not to get too deep into brick and mortar versus e-com, but then they were like, well, we'll let you sell it on e-com, but those prices got to be higher than the brick and mortar store.
Yeah,
Crap
that's what
like
I'm saying.
that.
There was definitely price collusion.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
100%. I was learning about this in my antitrust class, and on the day, I'm like, yo, these dudes are doing this right now. That was for real. Yeah, it was a real thing. Anyway, so it took us, we put in a great amount of effort, and I had an incredible partner. I mean, these guys knew the golf business for a long time. I wasn't a golf guy. I knew how to do the thing I knew how to do. So like, these guys were incredible. We ended up selling it to a private equity firm. In the strategy at the time, we sold it in 2000, was to roll up a few of us golf companies. There was us as the retailer. There was a company called Liquid Golf, which was doing like golf travel packages, things like that, et cetera. So they're trying to roll us up into like this all-in-one golf destination site.
Okay.
With the idea of going public.
And you, at that time, you're learning all about this M&A and acquisitions, and like you have no experience. Well, not a ton. So you're just kind of learning it on the fly, right? I mean,
dude, yeah, terribly. I mean, learning on the fly. That funky web that I sold,
yeah,
on a handshake.
Wow. By the way, did that make you a ton of money?
$0.
What did you sell it for? Equity? Did you sell it for equity? How'd you do
equity? What the fuck else do you think we did back then?
Yeah. So from that, you're like, okay, that didn't really make me a lot of money. Let me do it differently.
Well, no, what happened was the guys that I sold it to, they sold, and they didn't assign rights to me.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah. All right. Lots of learning lessons there.
Right. So I didn't have it. Bro, when I was like, it's not like today. I didn't know what selling a business meant. I just knew it was like, hey, you guys want my clients? Like, all right, well, I want some piece of your business.
And you were a trusting guy, but you're like, okay, if the guy says he'll take care of me, he'll take care of me.
I just didn't know any different.
Oh, okay. And then how about the second sell? When you sell the golf, golf?
Hell yeah. We hired an SEC. We hired a former SEC securities lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We went through the whole thing. But my guys, the golf guys, they knew stuff, right? They knew they knew how to do deals. They knew what the right ways were to do it.
Now, was that your first nice chunk of real cash at that point in your life?
I'd say it was like, okay. Definitely some cash, but cash and equity deal with clawbacks. The whole thing was,
okay.
We sold pretty much at the peak of the .com.
Okay.
Boom.
Right before the 01 bust.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so while there was some cash to be had, it was still a pretty heavy equity deal.
Okay.
And the clawbacks were, if you don't reach certain milestones in order to go public, then we get a piece of the business back.
I see. Okay. So you made some money on that, but still you're paying the bills and living off of the other stuff you're doing, the DJing and the club stuff. You're still making money doing that too at this time, or no?
I still was DJing, but no, I mean, these businesses were quite profitable. So.
Okay. All right, cool. Wow. So then, all right, this is all before you graduate.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
So that's how you start seeing what shows up on LinkedIn.
Right, because I'm like, I'm looking. In fact, I have your LinkedIn profile pulled up right now as we're talking. I'm like, I don't see any of this on there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I guess I could put them on there, but I kind of like separate my life into like the college years businesses and then like the post college. I don't know. It's
okay, but those are really cool stories. And I think a lot of listeners, especially millennials that are in college with ideas, they probably love.
I probably should put it up there. Actually,
they're probably going to love hearing that because it takes guts to do that. Guts and hustle, man. Hustle. Like you are not afraid. And before you jump into Accenture and your second part of your life after college, I just want to clarify for the listeners. Keep in mind, Andy is in the club DJing, getting these gigs, and then he has an idea and he goes to the owner and says, hey, I'll build a website. Like you never in your life, you've never been afraid to be like, I got this idea. I'm going to go talk to Bobby about it. And I don't care if Bobby says no, I'm going to hit him with it. I'm going to sell him on it. And if he says no, I'll move to the next guy. Like seems to be your attitude the whole time, right? Like
fear is your own shit. Right. And I spend a lot of time now, especially like helping people through that thing, but that's your own thing. I just didn't have the fear.
You just didn't have it. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's a blessing. I might have other stuff, but that wasn't going to get in my way. That's for sure.
I love that, man. Love that. Okay. So then what happens? Then you get this regular job.
I sat with a venture capitalist actually down in San Diego, who had been pretty generous in my whole sale process and everything. And
Okay.
I asked him like, hey, what do you think I should do now? Cause it looks like this thing is turning. And I had another startup coming. Like I had another.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I had another whole nother thing. But like you could see the market was turning hard.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, what would you suggest? I don't really know what this means. Like I didn't know what market cycles were. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just knew like this doesn't look good.
Okay.
And he said, you know what you should do? You should take all of your experiences and go consult. And I was like, what's consulting? And he's like, basically you help other companies. You'll get exposure to a ton of people, ton of different businesses. You'll build a big network. You could like all these things. And I was like, okay, cool. Like what's the best consulting firm in the world? He's like, Anderson Consulting.
All right. Cool. Time. Yep. So
I go talk to one of my, couple of my roommates from college. And I was like, hey guys, like, you guys ever hear of Anderson Consulting? They're like, yeah, dummy. And I was like, so how you get a job there? And they're like, fool, remember all those job fairs we used to go to that you didn't go to? That's how we got those jobs. And I was like, well, now what?
Hook me up. Introduce me.
Yeah, they're like, well, you need to go talk to a recruiter. And I was like, well, I don't even, what the fuck? How do you do that?
This is before, by the way, this is before LinkedIn. You can't just look up Anderson Consulting Recruiter online and find somebody.
Right, totally. So Anderson had an office in El Segundo, where Tribe Called Quest left their wallet. So they had an office down in El Segundo. And basically I just drove there. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 days. I just went early in the morning, went in the parking lot and was like, hey, do you guys know who the recruiter is? People that were walking into the office.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking for the recruiter.
You are literally, you're in the parking lot catching people walking in and out. Yeah, it's just
one of those multi-tiered, parking garages.
Yeah.
And so I would just like walk up and down as people would get out of their cars. I just ask people like, hey, do you know who the recruiter is?
I love it.
And then one day this guy, Chris Knoll, he was like, I'm the recruiter. And I was like, oh, cool, man. I was like, hey, I'm trying to get a job with you guys. Like, here's my resume. And he was like, all right, well, we kind of have a recruiting process. And I was like, yeah, cool. But like, hit me up when you want to talk.
So glad. He's probably walking to his car going, what the hell just happened? He's like, I got it with the balls on this kid. I got to hire this kid. Like I have to hire this kid.
I think it's funny because like in hindsight, I didn't know. Let me put it like this. It's all the process of recruiting is kind of fake. And it's fake in the sense that we have to manufacture this process in order to find really good people. If you already know you're that good,
thank you.
It's just standing in your way. So wow. I'm like, I don't even know that's a thing. When I hired people for like, the staffing company, I would just be like, hey, send me somebody that can do this. And they sent me somebody. So I had never even recruited before. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
So I just assumed like, you're welcome. I showed up. Here's my resume. Anyways, it doesn't exactly play out like that. But Chris did put me through a recruiting process. Credit to him. And and then I did earn myself the interviews and the job.
All right.
And then as I was in there, I mean, it wasn't awesome.
It wasn't, yeah. Because I mean, by then you already, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth there, but I just know once you've tasted entrepreneurship, being a regular employee, it's hard, man. It's super hard, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to pinpoint what I didn't like was that the work I was doing wasn't cool. I was doing like I was an analyst, but I was like, but you seen what I've done, right? But like from their standpoint, like you enter as an analyst if you're a college graduate.
And you're like, man, I already built like 4 businesses and sold them. What are you talking about?
I was like, I think I've done maybe more than you so far, but okay, we can have this. Anyways, I didn't really think that way. But what happened was then there were companies that would come in and pitch. It turned into Accenture, right? Okay. Anderson Consulting turned into Accenture. They would come in and pitch because Anderson at the time had like a fund where they would invest in internet companies.
Okay.
There were conglomerates and whatnot. And so there was a group that came in to do a pitch. I had to like set up the presentation room. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I was doing.
Dude,
and I heard
I
heard the guys' pitch and I chased him down the hallway and I was like, yo, I want in on that. And they're like, well, what can you do? And I was like, well, here's what I've done. I've done this, this, and this, and this. And they're like, well, we're just forming this group as like, they just did the pitch. we're trying to raise money. Like let's talk. And so I joined them as a starting group of founders of this small consulting group.
Can I just take another pause right there for the listeners? Another key moment right there. You see these guys, you're in there like putting napkins and water on this presentation room, and you're like, what the hell am I doing? Like, and these guys, you see this moment where you're like, I have got to talk to those guys right there. And you follow these dudes down the hallway and pitch yourself right then in the moment.
Oh yeah.
I love that, bro. I really want that to sink in. I know for you and your personality, that might seem like, oh, this is just natural, but I can just tell you, that's not how most people do it. Most people do not have the guts to do that, bro. I'm telling you.
Might be.
And I think that's so key for the listeners. Like, if you see a moment, just go for it. Like, what do you got to lose? The worst case scenario, they say, hey, shove off, or, whatever. Big deal. Go for it. Anyway, I just wanted to emphasize that moment.
Yeah, really cool. I never even thought twice about it, to be honest with you.
Right? Because that's your personality. Cool. For you, it's like, this is how you do it. Of course you go talk to them. All right. So, all right, go ahead.
Cool. That's good. I like the dramatic pause on that. I'm going to use it next time. So anyway, so then, we got together. We started building out this little company that could be. Wow. We got funding from Internet Capital Group. And then we built that out.
Now, at this time, you have enough experience to say, hold on a minute. I want to be involved in the operating agreement, the cap table, my units. Like you, now you're like, hey.
Oh, I'm versed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm versed. So, so that was like, honestly, it was quite easy. Everybody was like kind of down to do this thing. They were leaving pretty much the big 5 consulting firms.
Okay.
A couple guys from Kearney. So like maybe big 5 and a couple other niche ones, and then, and starting this up. And so, anyways, we built it up pretty nicely. I mean, there's so much to talk about it, but I'll say this: we scaled it internationally. Eventually, I was the first one to take us international to India. Wow. When I was generating revenue out of India, I wasn't doing a lift and shift. I was generating revenue out of India. My recruiter, by the way, this I like these recruiters, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
You heard story 1.
Yep.
How I got my web design talent. Story number 2 on the recruiter tip. I married her. She's my wife.
Is that? Oh, you're married to a recruiter. Wow. Okay. Is she still a recruiter now?
No.
No. I was going to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
okay. Wow. That's so funny. Okay.
She was my recruiter in India.
Wow.
Specialized in multinational BPOs, business process outsourcing.
Okay.
And right, I needed somebody who would take a bet on me, because we weren't multinational at the time. We were one nation, American,
right. Yeah.
Coming into India with no brand name, no reputation. So Indians aren't looking for that. They're looking for stability, right? They're looking for a job that they can get growth in, that they've got stable income. They're looking for that. So I needed somebody who could vouch basically for me after getting to know me and my vision for it, who will vouch for me. And
I see.
All the roads pointed to this one young lady. And
that's so awesome.
So I got a soft corner for recruiters, bro.
Now, what functionally were you strategy? Were you sales? Were you relationships? Were you all 3? Like what were you doing overseas functionally primarily at that point?
Yeah,
as part of that team. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was West Coast in India.
Okay.
I own the P&L.
Okay.
So that would be everything from sales to delivery of service, revenue, cost, the whole works.
All right. Yeah, because at this point you are, I mean, as a recruiter, right? I'm always bucketing people. Are you ops? Are you sales? Are you marketing? What are you, right? Yeah. At this point, you're all of it.
GM. Think of it like a GM.
GM. Yeah, at this point you can do it all. Okay, cool. All right. And then what happened? You guys sold that?
While I was building that out, I decided that I was going to build my next business on my own. And so I built a wealth management company while in like the last year and a half of my consulting practice.
Why? How did that happen? Why did you make that decision?
One of my other partners in that consulting firm had broken out and started managing money. And he was really good at it. But he's a one-man show. And I was like, I can do sales and ops. I just can't do this investment thing like you can.
Okay.
But I understand it really well. I was an economics major. Like I understand it, but I can't do what you do.
Okay.
and he couldn't do what I do the way I could. And so
Beautiful.
together you've got the makings of a wealth management firm.
Wow.
And so we decided to start a wealth management firm, but we had $0 from like family. We had no like, well, he actually had family, but I had $0. So he had broken off a year and a half before me.
Okay.
Started his own firm. And then when I decided I wanted to go do this with him, we started a separate firm.
And is that now called Lotus Group Advisors?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
It acquired his original firm eventually too, but yeah, Lotus Group is what we started.
And you're like, and let me just pause. So at this point, then you're having to go talk to rich guys and say, hey, let us manage your portfolio. We'll help you get richer. Come on, just give us your money.
Yeah, totally. I know it's ironic.
But I could see you doing that. Like,
yeah.
After just talking to you here for 30 minutes, it's like, oh, I could easily see you approaching a billionaire saying, listen, bro, I can give me your money.
Yeah.
I can make you more money.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a little bit of something, but it worked out. So we built that while I was finishing out about a year and a half is what it ended up being at the consulting practice.
All right.
I then sold my shares. Our company ended up, that company ended up selling to Accenture, in fact.
Wow.
It's had a pretty big exit. So like, everybody kind of made out.
Now at that point, is that your biggest win at that point? Is that your biggest chunk of cash at that point in your life? Okay. Yep. All right. Sure. Not enough to retire, but, or could you have?
As a single guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not as and at the time I was.
At the time you were. Okay, great. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So, anyhow, so then we built out this wealth management firm.
Okay.
And that was a 9-year ride basically for me until I sold it. I actually sold it to my partner.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. So amicable type of sale. And we built that to 100 million. That was kind of my benchmark, my goalpost. It was 100 million in assets, and we had a very profitable business.
Why sell? Is there something inside you that gets bored after a while and you're like, I got to do something else? Is that a fair question?
Fair question. Not an accurate statement of whether I get bored. No, it's on wealth management. Statistically you have market cycles. Okay. One every 5 years on average. The average downturn is 1.5 years. The average up is 3.5. We had been in a bull market from 2008 till now. When I sold 2009 to 2015.
I see.
That's 6 years. Statistically speaking, we were about to hit a bull or a bear market.
I see. Okay.
Right. And I was not wanting to participate in another up and down. Okay. I wanted to go and do something different and take chips off that table.
Got it.
Yeah, a lot more strategic than
Okay.
filling a niche.
Yep. Gotcha. And then you start Flow.
Then I started Flow.
Tell us about Flow. Give us the Flow overview.
Flow is a revenue growth agency. One thing I've figured out how to do is to grow revenue. I mean,
you think? Yeah. I think you might have figured that out.
That's a thing. And so what I've built is an agency that can help other companies grow revenue. But I did this in a way that was really special because I didn't look at it like, what business do I want to build? That's what I've done every time.
Okay.
In this one, I asked myself, mind you, I exited my wealth management firm. I've got time and money, right? So I'm asking different questions now. I'm asking like, what do you want to do? And like, I got resource. The question I asked myself was, what problem do you want to solve? And I've been doing a lot. We haven't talked about any of the philanthropic work that I've been doing.
I know it. Yeah. We got it. Yep. Go ahead. Yep.
But I've been doing a lot to help low-income kids go to college. As you can understand my own story, you understand why. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've sent over 1,000 low-income kids to college on scholarship. And so this has been a big part of my life, is to help these low-income kids go to college. Yeah.
Is this Minds Matter of Denver?
It's Minds Matter. Yep.
Right.
And I was also, I headed up this charter school network called KIPP, KIPP. Okay. Built out KIPP Colorado, and we expanded to multiple schools, multiple locations out here. And so that's a 90% low income, 90% minority, 90% go to college. So between KIPP and Minds Matter, a lot of low income kids, and I've led both of those organizations. So I still lead Minds Matter.
You do. Okay. So now as you start Flow, you're also finding lots of ways to give back, right? And that's great.
Been doing it.
Okay.
So what I knew though was there was a problem I wanted to solve that I wasn't working on. And that was, what am I doing for low income kids like me who aren't going to college?
Okay.
because college isn't a realistic option for everybody,
Right.
for one reason or another. But I'd say it's either not a realistic option or they shouldn't be going anyways.
Okay.
Just because it might not be suiting, what their strengths are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're low income, what are your odds of making any money? It's low. I'm not saying,
no, you're totally right. And if you live in Colorado, you're either going to work construction or work in the oil field, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
what are you going to do? Right.
Right.
Yep.
And so this was a problem that I really wanted to work on. And I had studied the Swiss model of apprenticeships when I was in finance, right? Swiss banking is world famous. Yep. One of the reasons they're known as some of the best bankers in the world is because they have an apprenticeship model where they start kids off when they're 16. They put them through these apprenticeships, multi-year apprenticeships. They can either go to college to continue, or they continue just without a degree and they have these jobs. But anyways, it's a gold standard as far as apprenticeships go. I mean, other countries have it: Austria, Germany, France, etc. But Swiss apprenticeships are second to none. So I'd studied that, looking at it from a finance perspective, and I had hired one guy as an apprentice in my wealth management firm to test it out.
Okay.
He had a college degree, but I treated him in an apprentice way, which is different. In wealth management, most of the time when you hire somebody junior, the deal is come in, bring me a book of business, and if you can hit $10 million in assets by 18 months, you can keep your job. If you can't, you're fired.
Yeah.
What I did was said, you have 0 revenue goals, just learn for a year. Then in year 2, you will service clients. Then in year 3, you can start to find if you can go hunt.
All right.
So I'm saying this not as though like, oh, it's a small thing. This is a very big difference compared to how that industry operates. If you want a job in wealth management, you got to come walk in with money.
Okay.
We're not talking about brokerage. We're talking about RIAs. Very different.
Okay.
Very different story. So anyhow, I had seen the results of that and it was fantastic. And so I said, okay, I want to work on this for low income kids. How do I create apprenticeships for them in a job that has highly in demand? So then I had to go, well, what's highly in demand? Turns out the Office of Economic Development and Department of Labor put together a report and Workforce Development put together a report called the Colorado Pipeline Report.
Okay.
Colorado Pipeline Report is an annual report that says, here are all the highest in demand jobs in our economy in this state. Here are the ones that are the most unfilled, and here are the requirements to go fill them if you're a job seeker. Great
tip. Appreciate you sharing
that. So
that.
obvious that you should look at this thing, but they suck at marketing, so no one ever knows it exists.
And I'm embarrassed to admit that as a 52-year-old recruiter, I didn't know that existed. So there you go.
That's what I'm saying. It's a government report, but beautifully done. Beautifully done.
All right.
And so I looked at that and I said, okay, scan. Number 1 most in demand job that's unfilled, coder. Understood. I moved down, salespeople in tech, and I got to digital marketer. And I was like, I've hired a lot of digital marketers. I don't know what any of their degrees were.
Good point.
I just wanted to know if they had the skill.
Right. Okay.
All right. So fast forward, I said, I'm going to create an apprenticeship program to teach these youth digital marketing, but now I need to pay for this somehow. I'm going to sell a service that they can deliver as their job, and that'll fund the apprenticeship. So we started with live chat.
Wow.
Go back to my kind of origin. I'm really good in convincing people on AOL to come to a club. I got game when it comes to typing and getting you to do something. All right. So I might have game verbally, but I got game on written real-time chat. So we said, okay, let's look at live chat, have them become the agents, and we'll just convert website traffic into leads. Let's not play with the customer support thing. Let's just go make money for people. If we can go make money for people, we won't get fired. Okay. And I can teach you how to do that. Teach them how to do that. We start this agency, starts with live chat. They then, I'm putting them through an online education. That's a 2-year program to become graduates of this apprenticeship. When they graduate, they make $40,000 or more with no college degree and a career path. And hopefully they stay with us. We have the growth and demand, but they can go anywhere because it's portable skills.
Wow. That's so awesome. I mean, really great idea. Really great idea. And so the people that would use this service would be somebody like Riderflex that wants a little chat box on the website, but we don't have anybody to man it and nobody with the skills to man it. Is that accurate?
Basically. Yeah. People specifically with like a good amount of website traffic. So they know they're picking up leads already on their website. They're just leaving a lot on the table.
Okay. Okay.
So if
Yeah.
that's already happening for somebody that they know they've got it, well, our agents are great at when there's a complex sale. Appointment setting is great because it's not a sale, right? Appointment setting means like, I'm just going to get you to somebody who's even more knowledgeable. Appointment setting is really great because the sale is so complex that somebody can't just look and buy. Amazon doesn't have live chat. It doesn't need it.
Right. Never thought of that. You're right.
Right. It's a simple sale. You either want this or not, read the reviews or don't, but you don't need to speak to a person about it. A complex sale requires a human interaction. Yeah. And that's where my team thrives.
And by the way, those human interactions, sorry, I interrupted you right there. You know what gets on my nerves, and boy, I hope I'm not stepping into something that you're doing.
I don't care.
What irritates me is if I do the chat box on something and I get these robot responses where I can tell there's no thought in the response, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm just talking to a chat box or whatever.
Yeah, that's just a chat bot. No, so we don't do chat bots. Not because I have like a fundamental disagreement, because the value prop that we have is if you're going to pay for a US native English speaker, while they are low income youth, you're paying more than you are for the, Philippines.
Okay.
Well, what's the value add? The value add is that they're going to sound like someone you want to talk to. That only matters in some businesses.
True.
It doesn't matter, like I said, if you sell something on Amazon. If you sell something pretty easy that just needs a couple of question and answers, bots are pretty good.
I got you. Okay.
And then overseas. But if you want a native English speaker, it's because you have something that you're like, I'm not messing up this first impression.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And so what does Flow overall, what other services, if I want to use Flow right now, what other services, does it provide? And by the way, it's feelmeflow.com, correct?
Feel Me Flow.
Feel Me Flow.
That's a Naughty by Nature song.
Okay. It ties right back to your roots, right? Right back to the music. Everything ties back to some of those early things.
I can't shake it.
By the way, when you're GoDaddying, feel like Flow Me, like what are you testing all these URLs in GoDaddy until you?
No, I kind of just knew like Feel Me Flow. I was like, I don't know,
you looked it up and it was still available.
Yeah, I knew the song. Like it's a naughty song, and I love Tretch. Tretch is the head MC there. I love I knew the song.
Awesome.
It's one and done.
Great.
Ain't no golfstore.com's available anymore. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So now services overall, just a quick summary there. Yeah. I know we touched on it. Go ahead.
So we're a revenue growth agency, which means that we generate leads, convert them into customers, and then nurture them to get them to pay more.
Is it monthly? Do they pay? Does the client pay you monthly, or how does that work?
Yeah, on the lead generation and conversion with live chat, it's just a monthly retainer.
Okay.
On the nurturing of customers, there's a minimal like lights on fee plus a performance pay. I modeled that one after the hedge funds, the 2 and 20 model.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So if
you
pay us a little bit just to keep our lights on, we'll make you your money back double, and after double, we get a performance kicker.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, all right, very good. And now that business, how long has that Flow been in place now? It's been
3 years.
3 years. Okay, you're loving it, having fun with it.
Oh, dude, like I love what we do, because here's the thing: like we haven't talked yet about. There's so much to cover, I'm sure, but like we haven't talked about the work I'm doing, my book and my album.
I want to move into that right now if we can.
but I'm highly ambitious. There's no mistake. I'm highly ambitious.
Yeah.
But
if you look up Andy Seth online, you'll see that's evident. But
I will not suffer for my ambition, and that is a very important thing to know. I will not suffer for it.
Tell me what you mean. Go deep on that just for a second.
You can end up with a lot of pain because you don't feel like you are where you should have been. You don't feel like you have what you thought you would. You're not where you thought you would be by now. Other people are doing better. You're willing to like endure personal pain, either through your own anxiety, depression, suicide rates amongst entrepreneurs, and then there's pain for like how you treat your family. There's pain around friends. There's a lot of people in pain.
I agree.
And I refuse, like, not stubbornness. I mean, I do a ton of work internally to make sure that I'm staying completely at peace.
Meditation,
still have ambition.
meditation, yoga, stuff like that.
Meditation is a big part of my practice. Yeah. There's kind of 5 steps, if you will.
Okay.
And that's like literally what I lay out in my book. The book is called Bling.
Bling. It is called Bling. Okay.
Yeah. The book is a parable about a rapper who goes on a spiritual journey.
Which, okay. All right.
And teaches really these tools to do the inner work so that you can be a really, really highly concentrated entrepreneur or intrapreneur or employee or whatever it is. I don't really care. But the point is that you can be really good at that. And you have to be really, really focused to be able to do as much as you want to accomplish on the business.
When did you decide to write the book? How did that happen?
Well, I didn't decide to write the book, truthfully. The book kind of came to me inside of a meditation. I actually had another book that was with my editor.
Okay.
That's been shelved. I've literally just shelved it.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And this book came to me in a meditation in March.
Wow.
Of 19. March of 19. I kind of got the message and was like, all right, let me put some words to it. I kind of set up a scenario where I would trigger flow state from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. After 5 days, book was done.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I was just about to ask, like, how'd you find the time to do this?
Spring break. My kids were on spring break and my wife said, go up and do it.
Wow.
To the mountains and just did it. Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's available on Amazon, right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. Everywhere. Okay. All right. You just look up Andy Seth Bling. Boom. There it is. Order your copy. Is it on Audible?
I'm recording my Audible right now, actually. Yeah. So we'll have the Audible version, but my,
I'm a treadmill.
Yeah, it's coming, Audible, baby. It's coming.
Okay.
And no, we've been blessed. You know, we hit #1 bestseller on Amazon the day we launched, and so
what?
It's been pretty killer. Yeah.
Wow. So now you're an author. By the way, do you still mess around with the music? Do you do anything there at all?
I sure do. Do
you?
Yeah. So as part of writing this book, towards the end of it, the rapper kind of goes through this transformation and starts to produce starts to create this new album. That's the story, right? He creates this new album and it's like this magnum opus. As I'm writing it, I start hearing sounds like, oh, that'd be dope if this was like real. Anyways, I'm going to fast forward through some of the steps, but I produced an album that is a soundtrack to the book, chapter for chapter, track for track. It's also called Bling. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, everywhere, Amazon Music, under my artist name, A-Love, A-L-U-V. That was my DJ name from back in the day. And so it's the album that is a soundtrack accompaniment to the book.
Fantastic. All right.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's hip hop. So if you are into like boom bap hip hop, it's not trap. So it's boom bap hip hop with Indian sounds. I've got a dope rapper named Wes on there. He goes by Skrilla. I've got a couple of really great vocalists in different songs. One Cuban lady named Karen. This other guy, Daramola, who does like this Caribbean vibe on one of my tracks. Like, yeah, we produced a really hot record. It's not a good attempt for a first time, you know, like you just trying it out. No, like it's a proper album.
That's awesome. By the way, when I first started studying you for the podcast, I saw A-Love, right? A-Love. I'm like, well,
yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out who A-Love is. I'm trying to tie that back together. You got that. I don't know if you purposely have that hidden a little bit where it's hard to connect your name to A-Love, because I found it hard to connect the two. Is that strategy on your part a little bit?
A little bit. It's kind of like, it's like if you know, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was thinking that this morning as I was getting ready. I'm like,
yeah.
How come I couldn't tie that together?
Like all my old crew from like early on, I've been called A-Love since I was like 12 years old.
Wow. Okay.
So all my early crew from 12 through high school, through college, I even had some college teachers call me A-Love, like, cause that's how I went. I was a DJ. That was like what I went by.
Wow.
And so if you know, you know, it's one of those things.
So Bling, the album is on Spotify and
Apple Music,
Apple,
iTunes, Amazon, Pandora, Shazam it, do whatever you want. It's everywhere.
Okay.
YouTube, I got music videos, the whole works.
Okay, awesome. I had a feeling. I knew we were booked for an hour and we've already gone over. I called my partner at Riderflex. I said, it's going to be really hard for me to keep this conversation under an hour with Andy. There's so much material. Can I just ask you, can you have time for just two more questions? Two more?
Yeah, let me just double check to make sure I'm not messing up.
Two more. Right. I'll make it super fast. A sentence or two for wannabe entrepreneurs that don't have the balls to follow the guys down the hallway, or they haven't found the guts yet to follow those guys down the hallway and ask them something. What would you tell those folks? They want to start something. They have an idea. They're driving to work in their 45-minute commute. They hate their job, but they just can't muster up the guts to do it. Like, what's your wisdom for them?
Don't do it.
Don't do it?
Yeah, don't do it. My wisdom for you would be if you don't have that, if you can't even get to over the initial hump, don't do it. Go work for an entrepreneur first.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So when you go work for an entrepreneur, and I've been very blessed, I'd say one of the most proudest accomplishments I could point to are people who have soared past me. People who have, risen, they might have worked for me at some point in life, and now they're doing amazing things. That's one of the greatest accomplishments that any of us could ever see. It's like having kids that do really well. If you are not ready yet, then listen to that. It's because you're not ready. But go find somebody to work for who inspires you and teaches you. And I think entrepreneurs are great at that. Go work for somebody who's on a rocket ship, who's built something, and say, I want to work for you. That's different than saying like, I hate my job. No, you can love this. Actually, you can love working for an entrepreneur. They will teach you a lot. And then you can get ready to go do it on your own. Then you'll find the confidence because you'll know what it actually takes. You might be right. You might not actually be ready yet.
That's great advice, Andy. One last question. At this stage in your life, if you had to define your core purpose in a sentence, and I kind of pushed you from letting you tie that to the wife and kids, because I know that's usually it's usually take care of my family and all. But if
not mine.
Okay, if you defined your core purpose,
wife and kids are table stakes. How the hell is that your purpose in life? If you got a wife and kids, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Isn't that? Did you ever hear that Chris Rock skit where he's like, man, I ain't never been to jail. I take care of my kids. He's like, you're supposed to take care of your kids. Low expectation having motherfucker. What do you want, a cracker? Exactly. That is not the purpose of my life. Yeah. The purpose of my life is self-realization. That's a very crystal clear for me. My purpose is to realize a full amount of my life's potential as possible. That means both materially and internally.
That happens as you get older, or you knew that early?
Oh no, everyone has a different journey on that one. I feel like I knew it early, then forgot it, and then came back to it.
Self-realization is easier for me after you turn 50. Boy, it's a lot easier. I had problems with that early on. All right, Andy. So they can look up the book Bling. They can look up Flow at filmeflow.com. Plus, you can just Google Andy Seth. Boom, he pops up everywhere. Yeah. Really great advice. Super inspirational. Congratulations on everything you have built, my man. Really.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Steve. You've been a great host too, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Thanks for being on the Riderflex podcast.
All right. Later.
All right. Bye-bye. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.